Good evening. I will call this Township Council agenda meeting of December 6th, 2022 to order. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the municipal building on December 22nd, 2021, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record on December 28th, 2021, and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27th, 2021. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Cablevision Public Access Channel 21 at 11 a.m. on Sundays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net. Would you all join me in the flag salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Mr. Karifi? Here. Ms. Grignani has an excused absence. Mr. Musella?
Here.
Mr. Neglia?
Here.
Mr. DePiero?
Here.
Also in attendance are Mayor James Barbario, Business Administrator Fred Carr, Township Attorney Mike Lavery, and Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, December 20th, 2022 at 7 p.m., our regular meeting, and January 3rd, 2023 at 6:30 p.m., reorganization, followed by the agenda meeting. Presentations and reports. Mayor?
Yeah, I have a few updates. With regards to the Jersey Central Power and Light update, with regards to the power that was going out consecutively with certain areas in Parsippany, Lake Parsippany area, Park Road, I met with a representative of Jersey Central Power and Light, and this information that was discussed was what I just said. There's an underground faulted cable on Route 202 on Littleton Road. Crews have switched the customers' night to outages to I guess they redistrict them to another area. But they needed to fix the tap, and the tap is the part that connects from the overhead wire to the underground wire. However, it kept failing due to the issue underground. So as of yesterday morning, they were underground, the crews working in tandem to make the final repairs. They're going to place the underground cable and restore customers back to the original circuit configuration. No outage is necessary to put the circuits back to normal configurations. The repair should be done by the end of this week or the beginning of next week.
Okay, thank you.
Now, tonight, and I'm just giving some updates here, you have two resolutions on here for cannabis resolutions. There are two. Like I said, the resolutions are in support of Hudson Distributors, which is seeking a Class 3 distribution license, and Athena Labs, which is seeking state licensure as a cannabis testing laboratory. Athena Labs has a lease option at 35 Waterview Boulevard, which expires...
Mayor, Hudson is a Class 4.
Huh?
Hudson's a Class 4.
Okay, then a Class 4. Well, I'm really concentrating on the Athena Labs. So Athena Labs has a lease option at 35 Waterview Boulevard, which expires at the end of the year, and is a permitted use in the zone. Under the statute, the township may regulate cannabis growers, manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and delivery services. However, a municipality does not have the authority to regulate testing laboratories, which is regulated directly by the state. Now, if the township attorney wants to, chirp in. I'm only doing this because I know it's going to be discussed later on. The laboratory does not sell cannabis to the public. Rather, it is a secured facility which tests and certifies cannabis for licensed sale. Okay, I'll be doing I guess the shared service for the courts, and will be expiring between Rockaway Borough and Boonton, so we'll be negotiating those. The Mount Tabor Library. Myself and the liaison to the library, which is Councilman Neglia, met with a resident with regards to the Mount Tabor Library. I will be scheduling a meeting with you, Council President, the liaison, myself, and the director of the library with regards to the Mount Tabor Library. I said in the meeting that I'm willing to put certain amount budgeted towards the, Mount Tabor Library. We will have that discussion with the director. Now we'll get to the, Lake Hiawatha Library. As of right now, I recommend we hold it until we have a meeting with the, director with regards to the library, because the costs have significantly increased, for the library. It's, gone, from what I understand, when I came in, it went from, 6 million to 7.5, now it's 9.3 million, which is, and with the bond ratings, and then with the bond, interest rates going up, it could be a significant cost to the town. And what I mean by that is, we used to get, our bond interest used to be like 0.5%. It was almost like free money. Now it's at 5%. So we have to really have a hard discussion with the library board. On December 9th, which is Friday, the Friends of Lake Hiawatha, this is for the council members, will be having, a Winterfest, at 6 o'clock at the gazebo in Lake Hiawatha. And then also I'll be meeting with the Board of Education to finalize the SRO shared service agreement with the schools, which expires actually June of next year. And then the shared service agreement between the township and the PIL, which I'll be meeting with the attorney for the PIL, which is right here, Joe O'Neill. So I'd like to wrap that up by the December 20th, and then we'll move forward with everything else. So thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Anyone from the Township Council?
Yes, Council President, I'd just like to make two quick updates. One, I relayed a concern of mine. I've had a lot of residents from Lake Parsippany contact me about the JCP&L issue, which I know the mayor is handling, but about fireworks. I'm not certain if other people have been hearing complaints of fireworks going off at odd hours in the evening, but the business administrator has told me how we can handle that. And then the second item is we're north of 800 signatures on our petition to repeal the PLA. So I just wanted to make sure that I provided an update on how we are doing with that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, Council President. I'm, as Mayor said, I'm liaison with the library, and I attended the library meeting. There were over 100 Mount Tabor residents in attendance, and I'm sure there's a lot more in support of keeping the Mount Tabor Library open. Unfortunately, the library director nor the board said anything about it, and in the meeting, that was really pertinent to it staying open, so I just want to bring that out. And I did advise the library director, to please keep us in contact before making any rash decisions like that, because we would like to know that as well.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Oh, I have one announcement here for Mrs. Grignani. The meeting of the Economic Development Advisory Committee will be Wednesday, December 7th at 6:30 p.m. Area Chamber of Commerce, 3rd floor, 90 East Halsey Road. Also, 2 upcoming ribbon cuttings. Saturday, December 10th, 1 o'clock. Sheer Perfection, 83 North Beverwick Road, Lake Hiawatha. And Saturday, December 10th at 2 p.m., Zen Dental, 2200 Route 10, Suite 105 in Parsippany. So that's for Mrs. Grignani. Okay, Business Administrator, or Township Attorney first.
No report at this time, Council President.
Thank you. Business Administrator.
Yes, sir, thank you. I have 2 items on the agenda tonight. I'd like to start with the number 2, if I may, the insurance renewals. So I promised that Jackie Ortiz and Mike Atkinson from Fairview would be able to get out of here if we could have any questions. So Township, as we know, for the audience, we go out every year for insurance benefits for the employees and retirees based on a schedule. Last year, if council remembers, we renewed our prescription benefit through a bid process, choosing the best value for our self-insured fund. This year, we went out for stop loss. Stop loss for the council and the public is I call it the excess insurance carrier. Above that, We set a threshold and established claims at $150,000, so people who are injured or sick, once they hit that stop loss or that excess liability carriage is another level of protection for the township. Chose that for this year, the stop loss carrier, the Sun Life, and of course then dental, and then the third-party administrator, or the person who does all the paperwork, the administration for that, other than myself and my staff. When we have questions, we get a hold of the third-party administrator, they go out and get answers for, why people's claims were not denied, or what seems to be the problem with getting their medication, and things like that.
Okay.
We provided yesterday the copies of our backups that went with the resolutions. I sent it via email. I believe it's also in your agenda packet. And then for your reading pleasure is also the memo that I provided, which sort of a quick summation. So we sent this afternoon, and then there's a hard copy on your desk. Council has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them, or Mike, Jackie from Fairview can. I ask the council to approve those resolutions tonight on the non-consent agenda.
Okay, thank you. On the electric bus,
On the electric bus, so 3 months ago, as the council understands, we had applied for and received grant funding for basically half the cost of an electric bus. From the short answer is, if everybody remembers a few years ago when Volkswagen was held to task for falsifying the data in their diesel emissions, they were then fined $72 million, give or take a dollar. And that money is then spread out to, in New Jersey, our piece of that was to allow for the electrification of lots of different things. So there were a number of grant rounds this year where municipalities or schools and hospitals and other people received grants for electric buses, electric shuttle buses, trucks, vehicles, things like that. Parsippany was awarded a grant of $275,000 plus money for a charging station in August. Council expressed some reservations and concerns whether or not we want to be on the leading edge of doing that here in Parsippany.
no, I called it bleeding edge, not leading edge.
I'm trying to be polite, but that's okay. You said it, not me. So, but if the council thinks that we're not quite ready for that here in Parsippany, then that's okay. Then it's a simple matter. I get back with the people who gave us the grant and say, thank you, not this year, maybe not in a future year, and then that money's then, give it to somebody who needs it if we're not going to use it. And I ask council to, if they decide not to do that, to make a motion, I'll get a hold of the administrators of the grant, and we'll turn it down and try again another time. It's not uncommon to say thank you, but not this year.
Yeah, I did not want us to move in this direction. I don't know how the other council members feel. There's nothing on tonight's agenda that we're voting on.
So that would be the conversation right now. If the council chooses to right now say, no, we don't want to do that and have a vote, then that's the end of that conversation.
Yeah,
There's no formal resolution required, there's nothing like that.
I don't support the grant either. I think I'd made my position on that clear.
I also did not want to be on the bleeding edge of this technology. And do you other council members feel?
I agree with you.
I'm with you, Mike, I agree.
Okay.
Is your answer 4?
4 no's.
Sir, that's all I need, thank you very much, and that concludes my, unless anybody has any questions on the medical insurance, no?
No.
If council has no questions, then I thank Jackie and Mike, and you should leave while the getting is good.
Okay, Township Clerk,
No report at this time, Council President. Thank you.
thank you. Township officers and committee reports. Correspondence? Yeah, you gave yours and I gave Loretta's. No correspondence. Okay, then we're up to I'll entertain a motion to open this meeting to the public.
Make a motion.
Second?
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
The floor is open to the public on any matter. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Hi, my name is Olive Chitrelli. I live at 90 Morris Ave. So I wanted to tell you that I made you some cards that say, we want to reopen the library because the kids will love it. President,
Thank you.
Mayor Barbario.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Pass it down, clerk can make copies for all of us.
It was addressed to the town council.
Yes.
For all of us.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Takes a lot of nerve to get up that young and face everybody.
You should take 2 more candy canes for that.
You got enough. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Annette Tyrone, residing at 15 Lodge Lane, Parsippany, for 45 years. This is my first meeting, so I'm a little nervous. I also been working at the Lake Hiawatha Library for over 20 years. I want to bring up the situation with the municipal parking lot. There has not been any lights in the parking lot for a year. Karen O'Malley, a coworker, has contacted I'll tell you, read an email that she wrote. It's extremely dark. Many families pass through there to come to the library. December of last year, she called the town and asked whom she should contact regarding the lights. They sent her to engineering sent her to DPW, and they sent her to JCP&L. Working with each department took many weeks. The lights still are not fixed by August of this year. She called the Mayor's Action Committee to help. They did succeed in getting JCP&L, but JCP&L stated that the lights in the parking lot are not the responsibility of JCP&L because they are on township property. The Mayor's Action Center was also contacted on October 27th. The issue is now that it's stated that the township will need an electrician, and they don't have one at the moment. It was also stated that parts need to be purchased. Supposedly, they are on order. I think this needs to be addressed immediately before something happens. Thank you for listening. I also am one of the many residents who signed the petition against the PLA. I believe PLAs are wrong for Parsippany taxpayers. Research has shown it is not competitive, discriminatory against non-union workers, and costs seem to be higher. Hopefully, fair and open competition without a PLA will help taxpayers get the best possible product at the best possible price. A friend who is also a resident of Parsippany, who could not make it here tonight, is also against the PLA and asked me to bring this question to you. What created the need to limit the bidding process to union contractors? Have there been examples of non-union contractors that performed substandard work? Was that the reason to exclude them from the bidding process? And if it was, he would like to know examples. If there was no problem with non-union contractors, what is the reason to exclude them now? So I'll just present that to you from another Parsippany resident. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Mr. Carr, the parking lot lights, why can't we hire a electrician contractor to take a look at those lights? Tell us what it would take to get them working.
So news to me about the lights, and I'll find out. We can hire an electrician. So we had an electrician, worked for the sewer plant, we fired him.
We could still contract
We
out.
can contract somebody. I'll have to find out. I was unaware they didn't call the DA's office. So we'll find out.
Okay, thank you.
James Griffey, 46 Pinfold Court, Parsippany. I thought I was done coming up here regarding any matter that related to me, but apparently I'm not. So tonight I'm going to address my questions to Mr. Lavery. I'm in receipt of today of an email that's been going back and forth for several months from the court-appointed expert that has been holding on to my material for over 10 years. It's my understanding now that you want it back to go through every file, which I have no problem with. I don't know why you haven't done that since you've taken office for the last year. And I will let you know that the court-appointed, or the township's expert that Mr. Barbario hired, that cost the township close to $1 million, had indicated that I didn't take anything, or that he could not produce whatever I took. And those are emails that are back and forth from Raj Parikh that asked, when we were getting ready for trial, he wanted to know what I specifically had of the township. Mr. Ferrante, the expert that Mr. Inglesino and Mr. Barbario hired, never responded. Mr. Parikh pressed him even harder, saying, we need to know what this guy allegedly has. Mr. Ferrante's response, now this was the township's expert, said, contact my attorney. I don't know why you would say contact my attorney when the township's trying to ask him what I allegedly had in my possession. Nevertheless, you want it back. You want to review every file.
No, that's not true. So let me stop you there.
Well, pull the email.
Since I started in January, there have been emails back and forth about who's going to take the thing, who's not going
Right.
to take the thing. They keep, so finally I just said, okay, fine, just give it to me. I'm not going to look at every file. I don't have a dog in the fight. I don't know the facts. I don't know the circumstances, but I was sick of seeing everybody sending emails back and forth. The experts just saying, look, I don't want the zip
Correct.
drive or whatever. So I said, you know what, send it to me, and then I'll contact your attorney and we'll figure it out. But
Okay.
it's just, I'm the one guy that doesn't know all the facts and circumstances, but if you talk to your attorney, you'll see there's been emails going back since January when I started, and I just said, you know what, enough's enough. Send it to me, and then we'll figure out what we're gonna do with it.
All right, so that's why I'm here tonight.
Right,
because
so I don't, it's not that I don't look at your files, I have no.
I want you to look at it.
Right.
I want,
No,
listen,
but I'm just
if there's
saying
an
that.
allegation that I have something that I don't have, I want that to be proven, because I think I've already cleared my name already, but if I gotta do it twice, I will.
No. And again, it has nothing to do, it just happened to be that these guys keep going back and forth with the emails. The expert's like, I'm gonna start
I
charging it,
understand.
so I said, fine, send it to me, and then we'll
Right,
figure it out.
I understand.
So-
In the agreement, it was supposed to happen over a year ago.
Right, and
Then it's been
and
going
quite
back and
frankly,
forth, nobody wants to make a decision.
I don't know why special counsel didn't make that decision, the people that handled that, but that's a different story.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, it's just, I'm sick of the emails going back and forth, so I said, send it to me, we'll hold it, and then we'll figure out, I'll deal with your attorney, and then figure
Well,
out. who gets
that's why I don't want, that's where I'm gonna tell you right now, I want you to deal with me, because I'm
Okay.
not paying any more money.
what. Okay, that's
All
fine.
right, I'm not paying any more money, and I don't think it's fair for the taxpayers to have to pay any more money for whatever you're gonna do, whether or not you
No.
hire a company or whatever you're gonna do. I would suggest that you contact the Morris County Prosecutor's Office and ask them to go through it. I'm just telling you because
Mr.
I'm
Griffin,
here.
I'm sure it may be all of your stuff, and that's fine, but it's like, why somebody else couldn't have figured this out in the last year, I don't know.
Right.
But I'm hoping to be able to do it, and I'm trying to stop the bleeding, because I don't want the expert to start
Okay.
charging us. So you know what? I'll hold on to the thing. When I get it, I will let you know, and then, we can
I
figure out what we're
appreciate
gonna
that, but I will tell you in the email that I'm receipt of, it says the township wants to go through the file, every file.
do. No. First of all, that email did not come from me.
It didn't come from you, but
Right.
you're CC'd on it. It was dated yesterday. Nevertheless, here's
Yeah,
what I'll
anyway,
say,
yeah,
right?
so-
Because I'm here because of that email.
Okay.
And again, I'm willing to work with whatever you need to do. I just want to get my stuff back. It has pictures of my kids when they were little. I just want that stuff back.
And I'm waiting to get your stuff back. So the thing is, the only thing I know is there was an allegation, there might have been other stuff that wasn't yours on there. So we just
Right.
wanted, somebody's got to tell me whether that's okay to release, and
Right.
then I'm fine.
Right. So I'm asking that happened because also I want to let you know, because you weren't here, in all fairness
Right.
to you, right? When I retired, there was no policy that said you had to return back those devices. But since then, rightfully so, there's been a policy that's been enacted that says upon your retirement, you are due to turn in those devices. I've proven to the township, and I will give it to you, that doesn't happen. That hasn't happened, right? And that, what are we gonna do about that? Like, we're 10 years, I'm 10 years removed
Mr.
from this.
Creasy,
Yes.
could we do a sidebar with the attorney later instead of using the public time for this?
Well,
Your 5
yeah,
minutes, your 5 minutes is up, and this is a public forum. Do you want to discuss this at a
Well,
public
I
forum?
mean, you guys made it a public forum, but I don't think I should have been held to that 5 minutes since Mr. Lavery interrupted me and I appreciate the feedback, but I was hoping he'd give it to me after I was done saying what I had to say. But I just want to say, and I'll just end it with this, Mr. DePiero. I just want to say that there's people that have retired since me and have a whole slew of electronic devices that haven't been turned in, and I've got it documented that they haven't been turned in. So I just want to know, what are we going to do about that? That's my question.
Okay.
And then I guess I'll
So-
wait to hear from you.
Yeah, and what I can do is, since you're not represented by council anymore, I
No,
can send...
I am, but I'm not in this
All
case
right, all right.
anymore.
I was gonna say,
still
I'll
wanna
send
have
you,
that bill back.
I'd send you copies of all the emails that have gone back and forth
I
since
saw it.
January.
Got 'em
Yeah,
today.
so I'm like, all right, just send it to me. You know, I don't know why that wasn't dealt with before, but now I got it.
Okay,
So,
so
but
I'll
we'll
wait
figure
to
it
hear
out.
from you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Council President, may I please make a comment? It'll be a short one. It'll be short.
Okay.
With regards to the situation. First and foremost, when I became the mayor back in 2021, I was elected to come back, I thought this case was settled.
I thought so too.
Okay, this is the first I'm hearing, this is the first I'm hearing of this. I didn't know there were emails going back and forth. I didn't know there was anything that was happening like this. When I came in, I thought the case was settled, and it was gone. So this is the first I'm hearing about emails going back and forth. So I just want to let James know that. I want to let the township attorney know that. I would like to have been informed.
Okay,
Understood.
thank you.
And I'd just like to make a quick comment. If
This is the public portion.
I'll be brief. If what Mr. Karifi is saying is true, that there's been a policy that hasn't been applied to other officers who have since retired, I too would also like to know what we're going to do about that.
All right, we're back to, public hearing.
Hi, everyone.
Good
I'm
evening.
Elaine Gavalius. I live at 66 Boundbrook Road, and I'm a resident of 28 years. To get to those lights in the municipal lot that Annette spoke about, it's not just for the library people, but other people use that lot. The ice cream store, the restaurants, and workers are also there. So I just wanted to tell you that. You know, there's a lot of people that use that lot. Okay, so due to the unique times that we are living in, I've decided to get more involved as to where and how my taxes are being spent. I am also encouraging other Parsippany residents to do the same. I have done and will continue to do my own research on PLAs. Articles that I have read showed studies that were done on PLAs as having higher final construction costs and longer project completion. This is not mis- or disinformation, they are actual studies that were done. This is a learning experience for me as I seek to become more informed. I have a few questions that I would like answered. If they cannot be answered now, I would like a date as to when they can be answered. Does Parsippany expect lawsuits to be filed by non-union contractors when they are exempt from bidding on work? What impact will the PLA have on the Lake Hiawatha Library? Those are the two questions. And I understand that there is a petition going around, and I would just like to know what it will take for you all to listen. I'm not sure who it was, but someone on the council said that they didn't know that the 200-plus union members at that meeting at the high school would be there. How could you not know? There were tables set up outside, and there was a truck with a picture of Justin on it. Not intimidating. There's no pride left in Parsippany if the PLA is not repealed. Thank you.
My name is Anthony Longo. I live on 66 Boundbrook Road. I got a couple of things I'd like to get off. But apparently, two of them are already taken care of. It's the electric that always goes out. You know, I called the company up. Oh, 2 hours. 2 hours come up, you get a notice, another 2 hours, another 2 hours. But thanks, James, for that. Secondly, this PLA, you know, I did some reading upon it also, and it is very costly to the taxpayers in the end. To me, I think non-union workers should have the shot for the first bid that's up. And, to appeal the PLA, I'm for it, and that's it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Raymond Gallup. I live at 45 Iroquois Avenue in Lake Hiawatha. I looked online about a website that's called thetruthAboutPLAs.com, and it mentions under state and local construction about an article saying that the African American Chamber of Commerce of New Jersey speaks out against PLAs. I also noticed a lot of words like reduced competition, increased costs, wasteful and discriminatory, expensive and inflationary. And regarding the Lake Hiawatha Library, I live near there, and $9 million is an awful lot of money. So I'm hoping that these things are not going to escalate, especially with the PLA. If it, I would like to see it be repealed, because I know from a fact that I used to work at the U.S. Army in Picatinny, and I dealt with contracting, and I could see some of the spending going on there, and there's a lot of spending that sometimes goes overboard and cost overruns and stuff like that. So I'm concerned about that as a taxpayer and resident of Lake Hiawatha. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ivan Farisa. I live in 75 Highwood Road. I'm here because I totally disagree with the PAL ordinance, and 3 reasons. One is because it's not good for the town. It's going to harm the economy of the town. It's going to eliminate the competition. And third one, and the more important, is that it's going to harm the Parsippany taxpayers. And I'm a homeowner in this town, and I'm very disappointing of you guys, all of you, because we elected you to protect the homeowners, taxpayers, and you're already not doing that. And another reason is why Parsippany is the first town in Morris County that is going to approve this. Thank you.
Hi, Dawn Catanzaro, 86 Morris Avenue, Mount Tabor. I just wanted to thank the council and the mayor for your support with reopening Mount Tabor Branch Library. The one question I have, though, Mayor, you had said that you were going to recommend to the council to earmark some money in the budget for Mount Tabor. Does that happen tonight, or is this after the meeting, or is it for next meeting? Like, when will this occur?
It's going to occur during the budget process.
During the budget
I'll make a
process?
recommendation, and then I'll go over it with the director, with the business administrator, and then it gets presented to the council when I send the review of the budget to them.
So like in January, is that?
Yeah, March sometime.
March.
Yeah, March.
Okay,
I mean, we'll have it in there prior to that, but they won't receive the budget until about then.
okay, so if it's put in there prior, will the library director be told about that then? So
Right, she would know ahead of time, but just, that, you know, we still gotta go through a process of meeting with department heads to see what we need, what we can cut, and what, you know, what's really needed in the township.
Okay, all
But I'm
right,
gonna earmark the money for the Tabor Library.
okay, thank you.
My name is, my name is Bob Venezia. I live at 102 Brooklawn Drive. At the last meeting, Councilmember Musella introduced a petition to repeal the PLA ordinance, citing studies that have demonstrated that PLAs increase project costs by 33% and slow project timelines by 6 to 8 weeks. The mayor's immediate reaction was that the petition was based on misinformation. His reason, the study by the New Jersey Department of Labor that produced these cost and time results was published in 2010 and is now out of date. However, there have been no subsequent studies by any entity contradicting the results of that study since it was published. In fact, there are more recent studies, which the mayor may not be aware of, which corroborate the results published by the New Jersey Department of Labor. One such study was documented in an October 22, 2022 Daily Record article entitled, "Should New Jersey Towns Steer Public Projects to the Union Labor? Parsippany the latest to take up the debate." Here's an excerpt from that timely article, and I quote, "A 2019 analysis by the Beacon Hill Institute, a Massachusetts economic researcher, concluded that PLAs resulted in significantly higher costs for school construction in Ohio, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and higher final bids in New York," end quote. A petition is a non-binding way for residents to express their opinion to the governing body on a particular issue, in this case, the PLA ordinance. So, any taxpayer who would like to express to their representatives that they are unwilling to pay a 30% PLA project surcharge, which translates to an extra $1.5 million or more for each $5 million project, should seriously consider signing Councilman Musella's petition. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Hank Heller, and I live at 10 Fenwick Place in Parsippany. I think most of you know me. I come here as a friend, not as an adversary, and I'd like this leadership to be able to continue in leading Parsippany for many years to come. But with that in mind, I'd like to point out some things that I think are important. I'd like to be helpful. I did not expect that any of you will tell us who it was that invited the union people to come and sit amongst us and frankly, come in force. I'm only bringing it up because I think it was a very, very bad idea. And whoever it is that brought us this largesse, in fact, did not do you nor any of us a favor, okay? So I'd like to keep that, us all to keep that in mind for whatever comes into the future in our community. We don't need outside people coming and boisterously trying to steer us into making our comments what they would like it to be. It's just not the right thing to do. As a former banker in New York City, I've had strong relationships with senior construction executives in some of the very largest companies who are in the construction field in New York and throughout the country. One who I worked with quite a few times also taught at Cooper Union College, and he taught construction management. And I called and asked him what he thought about this PLA situation. And what he explained to me was this, and I think it would be useful for us to think in these terms. They use PLAs and unions in New York City, for example, in large municipalities, because when you're building a 50 or 100-story building, we're talking about hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars. And you have many large participants who are putting forth that funding. And they are not nearly so interested in the lowest cost, but in the lowest amount of risk to themselves, to their own bottom lines. And that is why so often you will find large projects are going toward unions and PLAs because it spreads out the risk, so to speak. In a municipality like Parsippany, we don't really have very much of that, certainly not in municipal building. And for that reason, I think that it's very important that you guys rethink what it is that we're doing and how we're doing it, okay? I understand how it could be useful in some cases, but in the situation where we're facing, as I've just read this week, huge increases in insurance costs for our municipal employees, and worries about how we're going to fund that. And I understand that we are looking at large increases in our sewer and water taxes. I think it's very important that you rethink what it is that you've put forth, and come back and help your voters to understand why what you're putting forth is useful to us and will help to mitigate our costs rather than increase our costs, because that's what we're facing with the insurance costs and water and sewer costs besides. So that's what I really wanted you to think about. Please help us to understand why what you're doing is good for us, not bad for us, because most of us, I think you see, don't really think that it's useful and helpful to us. Thank you very much and have a good night.
I brought an address label because I was not born yesterday. And this is not my first rodeo. Good evening. I'm Mary Martin, 12 Forest Place in the Mount Tabor section of Parsippany. At the November 22nd meeting, my neighbors and I were delighted that you all agreed with us about the importance of reopening our wonderful community library branch. As Councilman Neglia mentioned, over 100 Parsippany residents attended the library board meeting on Monday, November 29th, eager to engage in discussion with the library board on this issue. Their meeting agenda did not include an item about the Mount Tabor library branch, so I asked them to add an item agenda. They declined to do this. They told us that neither the library director nor the library board president had been directly contacted by anyone on the council, and they made it clear that they are waiting for direction from you, so that's why I'm standing in front of you again. We still need your help. So let's talk leverage. As I'm sure you know, municipal libraries receive a minimum mandated amount of funding from their municipalities. As long as a library's budget does not exceed this amount, they are considered a largely independent organization. They have their own appointed board of trustees and are governed separately from the municipality. However, sometimes the library system can't manage with only the minimum amount, so they ask for additional funding. I know that for the past few years, you have given more than the mandated minimum funding to Parsippany Library System, and I do want to thank you for your additional support of the library system, which is such a valuable community resource. Because of your generosity, you definitely do have leverage. You have a right to direct where some of the additional funding will be spent. If they ask you for additional funding for fiscal year 2023, you can say, well, the council unanimously affirmed support for reopening the Mount Tabor branch. If we grant additional funds to the library system, we will require your communication, cooperation, and commitment to reopening the Mount Tabor branch. So let's talk budgets now. At the library board meeting, I learned that the finance committee plans to meet in early December to review the library director's draft budget for 2023. Therefore, time is of the essence. So I ask you, Mayor Barbario, Council President DiPiero, or Councilman Neglia, or preferably all three of you, to please contact the library as soon as possible. Please direct them to include in their 2020 budget plan the operating cost of running the Mount Tabor branch at 22 to 24 hours per week. This way, when the logistics are worked out, a financial plan will already be in place. Now, regarding the library director and board, I spoke to Library Director Melissa Kuzma the day after the November 22nd council meeting. She explained to me that it had been her decision to recommend not reopening the Mount Tabor branch library. She also told me that the library board had warned her to expect some resistance. I am not sure if they expected quite this much resistance, however. When the library board walked into the meeting room last Monday night and saw over 100 people waiting there for them, it's possible that the sheer number of concerned residents intimidated them. At their board meeting, they had the opportunity to do the hard thing and the right thing, to admit that they had miscalculated and to commit to engaging in constructive discussion with the concerned citizens that their October decision affected. Instead, they chose to stonewall us. We cannot engage in productive collaboration and compromise with the library system if the director and board refuse to even engage in discussion with us. And this is why I'm here again tonight, along with my neighbors, because we need more help from you. First, please contact the library board and director and direct them to include a budget line for operating the Mount Tabor branch in their 2023 budget. Second, please contact the library board and director and advise them to commit to working with their engaged supporters on the western side of Parsippany on plans to reopen the Tabor branch. And finally, Mayor Barbario, I ask you to please appoint someone from the Mount Tabor section of Parsippany to the library board, because we would like a seat at the table. I am under 5 minutes. Thank you for your time. Happy holidays.
Thank you. Anyone else? Seeing no one come forward, I'll entertain a motion to close.
Make a motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Okay,
Can I say something in regards to the PLA, what was just discussed?
yes.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time, and thank you to everyone who came up and spoke. I really appreciate your sincerity, and I appreciate you being very respectful. First, let me say that this man next to me, he loves this town, and he would never do anything to hurt it. He does his research, makes decisions to help the town. He would never misuse the people's trust, and he certainly would never mislead them. He certainly wouldn't use any type of propaganda to promote his cause. He's one of the most transparent people I know, and most of all, he's honest. That being said, I'd like to speak about the PLA. I'm not going to use propaganda or hype to support it. What I'm about to say, just the facts that I found and I looked at an open mind. I'm going to tell you what I found in the research I did, as I promised various residents, some sitting in this room, and there seem to be a lot of misconceptions out there, but I'm going to tell you the research that I did and what I found. So please bear with me, because some items may be very repetitious, but I want to get my point across as to what I found, because I took a lot of time to look into this and to read as much as I could. A project labor agreement, i.e. PLA, is a pre-hire collective bargaining agreement with one or more labor organizations that establishes the terms and conditions of employment for a specific construction job. Now, please note, it could be union or non-union agreement. Anything said to the contrary is false. That's a fact. PLAs are an effective mechanism for controlling construction costs, ensuring efficient completion of projects, and establishing fair wages and benefits for all workers. PLAs also help ensure worker health and safety, protects while providing a unique opportunity for workforce development. This is a fact. The Davis-Bacon Act covers any federal project. The New Jersey Prevailing Wage Act covers any municipal building and school project. The threshold for these projects is $2,000 for Board of Ed buildings and $16,263 on municipal buildings. This can be confirmed on a New Jersey Department of Labor website. These wages are set by the state and must be paid to all workers, union or non-union. This is a fact. Safety regulations using local no-strike agreements do not add cost to the job. This is a fact. A PLA is a pre-hire collective bargaining agreement made that establishes a working condition and contractual terms before a project breaks ground. All costs are included. This is a fact. PLAs are intended to control cost, increase quality, and ensure that projects are completed on time. Again, this is a fact. By setting expectations in advance, there are several upsides to project labor agreements. The potential benefits are minimize delays, cut costs, better conflict resolution, safer working conditions, which is major in my eyes. To reiterate the benefits of a project labor agreement, PLAs are effective mechanisms for controlling construction costs, ensuring efficient completion of projects, and establishing fair wages and benefits for all workers. PLAs also help ensure worker health, safety, protections, while providing a unique opportunity for workforce development. This is a fact. PLAs bring order and specific responsibility to public construction projects. They are a binding agreement that call for collective bargaining between labor and contractors. In addition, they define the terms and conditions applicable to all workers, union and non-union, on public construction projects. It's what they deliver, an agreed upon, concerted outcome that makes them so effective. They provide stability to larger construction projects while ensuring compliance with workplace safety and health laws, wage protection, and most of all, equal opportunity. PLAs have existed since the 1930s. Their component provides cohesive to each project, including stability, predictability, diversity, local jobs, and training and advancement. PLAs add order by clearly defining each contractor and craft worker's responsibility. There are no hidden costs. Despite what you're hearing, there are no hidden costs. They address labor issues, designate cost standards, prevent shutdowns, and are mindful of maintaining completion schedules. PLAs provide coordination and leadership to this process while acting as a mediator to prevent any disputes. Nothing helps a project gain allies with public officials and the community at large like promoting the hiring of workers that are local constituents. This is true of the PLAs. The PLA must hire, in this case, 20% of Parsippany residents, not those that are illegally in our country or citizens of other countries. And when a project can attract women and minorities, both of whom the industry has underserved, their enthusiasm increases. Unlike what you may have been led to believe, PLAs can vigorously encourage hiring efforts from small businesses, minorities, contractors, and local workers while emphasizing government-required safety training. For example, a PLA can stipulate that a worker has undergone and obtained an OSHA certification. This reinforces safety first attitudes of the workers and reduces accidents. Most contractors want a highly skilled, well-trained worker available. PLAs pay considerable dividends by preventing costly errors and accidents because of their emphasis on training. Union carpenters, for example, spend a minimum of 4 years in a class and real work expectations before becoming a journeyman. Continue education classes after graduations, keep them abreast of the newest trends, material, and potential new skills. Some myths about PLAs. Some anti-PLA folks denounce that these agreements by spawning myths, and they include PLAs only applied to union workers. False. They apply to union and non-union workers, and they don't mandate that workers must join a union. Some critics claim that PLA reduces the number of bidders on specific project, thus raising costs. This is so false. A 2020 study in the Public Works Management and Policy Journal reviewed 263 bid openings for community college construction from 2007 to 2016. This first ever study of its kind concluded that the presence or absence of a PLA did not alter the number of bidders on a project or increase cost. Some critics say PLAs increase your taxes. Again, very false. You send out a bid, you get a proposal from both union and non-union. If they want to charge you $10,000 to do your roof, it costs you $10,000. There are no hidden costs. That's what a bid is. Some people may be hearing differently, but this is the truth. We ask ourselves, why do PLA myths exist, and why do certain companies object to using them? It's simple, because some companies want to reduce the competition, hire unskilled workers, pay under the table to non-skilled workers, and price gouge the company with extras. This is a common practice of non-PLA projects. I've been a facility director and property manager for over 35 years and have seen it firsthand. Without PLAs, vendors can skirt hiring mandates, disregard the need for certified skill among workers, and ignore efforts to provide job opportunities or training for women or minorities. Yet, all these reasons pale against the most frequent motivation of worker exploitation, which is widespread in the construction industry, and this needs to stop. The unethical practice of paying below standard wages or paying workers off the books is eliminated when entities utilize the project labor agreement. The core value that PLAs offer is transparency, and I think that's something we all want. It's a public document. Anyone can review it. Municipal officials, organizations, construction companies, and of course, the general public, to assess whether this agreement is fair and makes sound business sense. Indeed, it raises the obvious question of why anyone would not support a PLA. This council voted 4-1 to support the mayor's recommendation to use PLAs on projects over $5 million. I don't think we've had that many projects in the last 20 years over $5 million. We did so because we consider it to be the fairest, most transparent, and productive approach to conducting business in the construction industry while benefiting taxpayers, municipalities, construction businesses, and the workers. Thank you for your time.
And the public portion is over, I'm sorry.
Well, I'd like to respond to that, Council President, if I may. First and foremost, I truly do appreciate my colleagues' information and new evidence. I am really glad that we're having this dialogue. It's unfortunate that this dialogue didn't happen before we voted on this. And there's a couple of things in there that I think are really important for the public to be aware of. There's been this claim, and I don't know why we keep saying it, because in the actual ordinance, it spells it out correctly. This ordinance, the project labor agreement, does practically nothing to hire local Parsippany residents. I don't know why we're saying 20% of Parsippany residents will be hired. So I pulled up the ordinance that we all voted on, and I'm going to read it into the record as I've done multiple times. The ordinance says it requires that 20% of the labor hours required shall be performed by the Parsippany-Troy Hills residents who are participating in the apprenticeship program, and that 100% of the apprentices shall be Parsippany-Troy Hills residents. So I did some digging to find out, in actuality, how do these provisions end up playing out in the real world? Well, how they end up playing out in the real world is that apprentices who are local residents end up getting recycled and over again, so that way they can fulfill that hours component that's in the ordinance. So if we're telling people, as we just said before, that 20% of the residents will be hired under this ordinance, the ordinance flat out contradicts that. I understand some of the points that were made about how PLAs actually promote efficiency. Well, if you read PLAs, can somebody explain to me how work jurisdiction promotes efficiency? How does segmenting who shall do certain work, whereas contractors who don't have to abide by a PLA can have their employees perform all tasks at once? Again, how are we protecting the taxpayer with minimum show-up time? Where if somebody shows up to a job, they have to be paid for a mandatory amount of time, regardless of whether or not they're productive, on all of your expenses. So these are the questions, and I'm glad that we're having the dialogue and the debate, and I appreciate my colleague saying what he believes in. But the PLAs are flat out bad public policy, and the overwhelming body of evidence that has been conducted on this issue is crystal clear. They raise project costs, they are anti-competitive, and they harm small businesses. So I appreciate my colleagues' information, but that I don't believe that's going to change many minds, as over 800 residents disagree with that.
If I may say a few words.
Mr. Karifi.
First off, there was a couple residents that got up here and stated that it prohibits non-union contractors from bidding on these projects. That is 100% not true. So I'm sure we know where most of you are getting that information, but that is not true. 100% not true. Non-union contractors can bid on these projects. Okay? You used the number of 20%. Okay? And you said we'll recycle workers. So if we had 10 Parsippany residents doing 20% of the hours of work, those are our residents that are making that money. Those are our Parsippany residents that are being employed, that are getting that work, whether it's 20% of the amount of hours that are spent on the job or 20% of the workers. It's our Parsippany residents that are getting that employment, which helps our residents. So, again, we keep hearing, everybody starts off their presentation with it prohibits non-union contractors from bidding on these projects. That is not true. 100% not true. Like Mr. Neglia stated, if the project is for a bid and it's $10,000, that's the price that's paid. Prevailing wage means, if prevailing wage is $50 an hour, that means $50 an hour is paid to that worker, whether they're union or non-union. That is state law. That is what has to be paid to these people. So we've heard people saying, oh, pension costs and medical costs for union workers is going to drive up that hourly wage. That's not true. Those costs are deducted from their hourly wage. So if it's $50 an hour, that worker may only get $30 an hour in his pocket, because $10 an hour goes to his pension and $10 an hour goes to his medical benefits. So it's still costing the taxpayer $50 an hour regardless. What it does do is it also prohibits contractors from hiring undocumented illegal residents that are in this country. They're not residents. They're here illegally. Okay? So if a contractor wants to hire somebody, okay, they can go to somebody and say, well, I'm getting $50 an hour, but I'm only giving you 20. Take it or leave it.
This prohibits that from happening, and it ensures U.S. citizens working here that pay taxes on their income. I'm not saying that that happens all the time, but it is documented. There's a case out of Pennsylvania where a contractor is being sued for millions of dollars because in pay that he did not give his workers. Okay? It also ensures us fully trained. You heard Mr. Neglia say 4 years of training that these people get. 4 years. I think we'd rather have someone that you know. I'm sure if you had family members in a building, wouldn't you want to know that the people that built that building, that you're going to work in there every day, that building was built by fully trained workers? Again, if it's a $10,000 project, that's the bid. If a union contractor bids $11,000 and a non-union contractor bids $10,000, guess who's getting the job? The non-union contractor, because they came in with the bid. So all of this other talk of how the cost is going to raise, they won't get the bid. Thank you.
Sorry, the open public portion is done.
Yes, but you know, when you speak after we do, and we cannot respond to you, it's really, really upsetting, okay?
Thank you. But the reason is why
Okay, folks, the public session is over. That's the state law. Sorry, we had it, it was open. Now it's the council's time.
Okay, moving on.
Council President, may I respond? I thought you were going to respond, that's why I held.
I was debating doing that.
Again, might as well, right?
I'll just make one comment that makes sense to me. The township has not had a job that exceeded $5 million in 20 years. The last one was the sewer treatment plant, when we renovated the sewer treatment plant. And I don't see any in the near future that will be affected by this either. But,
The new town hall that we read about.
well,
this is public session, I will definitely respond to that comment.
but if we do have one, and we put out for bid, whether it's a union bid or a non-union bid, the lowest responsible bidder is going to receive the contract, whether it be union or non-union. That's true right now with every single bid we put out for the past 20 years and into the future. The lowest responsible bidder will receive the contract. So I don't see why this should be this big an issue, because we will always give it to the lowest responsible bidder, not always the union. Okay, Mayor?
I'm going to segue off with what Council President said. One thing you really need to understand is the fact there's a procurement process. And the procurement process is several things. One is a RFP, which is request for professional services, and the other one is bidding. Okay, that's what it is. Now, Councilman Neglia made a statement with regards to any projects over $16,263, I think it was, goes to prevailing wage. That's state law from the New Jersey Department of Labor. That's what's going to dictate the cost of the project, okay? Like Councilman DePiero said, we put a bid out, and the bid comes in, say it's I'm going to use $5 million, a $5 million project. And we know that's what it's going to cost. But the bidder, a non-union bidder comes in at say $4,500,000, and the union comes in at $5.5 million, well, the non-union is going to get it. And the notion that this is not competitive is absolutely false. And this was determined by the United States Supreme Court. This went to the Supreme Court saying that PLAs are non-competitive. They're not. They're far from non-competitive. I'm going to read a letter to the editor that I saw today from a gentleman who's a non-union worker, works for a union construction company, and he hit the nail on the head why costs go up. Think about this. When you hear certain individuals that came up and say costs went up, they go up with PLAs. So I start to sit back here and think, well, say that's true. They go up 30%. Say they go up 25%. Say they go up 20%. Maybe that's because those non-unions weren't paying the prevailing wages previously. Okay? So you have to pay the prevailing wages. That's state law. that you have nothing you can do about that, okay? And that's what drives the cost up. And I'll read that letter to the editor in one moment. So, when you sit here and residents, and I respect all the individuals that came up here. I know a lot of you and stuff like that with regards to the PLA ordinance. We all have our opinions. I respect all my colleagues' opinions, Councilman Macella's opinion on it. But where I segue off is if the vote goes 4-1, I'm not going to go put a petition out every time I don't get my way. I just won't do that. These individuals were elected to make decisions. We're a republic. That's what we are. The constituents chose them to make decisions, and then we move on when that vote is over with. Well, that didn't happen here, and this is why this is alive right now. Okay, so we're going to be going through this probably every meeting with regards to non-PLA, PLA, and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, and I have to bring this back because I keep hearing non-competitive. And I'm going to read the letter to the editor for somebody who's non-union. Recently, over the Thanksgiving holiday, I received a mail from a councilman in town regarding the PLA that was passed in October. Having been involved in the construction industry for over 40 years, I decided to look into it, and I watched the council meetings, and I read more articles. It's amazing how much misinformation and lack of information can go out. I work for a company that's a non-union. We have bid public work for over 30 years. We have worked on both private jobs and public jobs that had PLAs, and this gentleman hits it on the head. It's not the PLA that makes the cost higher, it's the state and federal regulations. The Davis-Bacon Act, which covers federal projects, the New Jersey Prevailing Wage Act, which covers municipal buildings and school buildings, the threshold for these, and we said that, $2,000 for schools, $16,263 for municipal buildings. And this can be confirmed on the New Jersey Department of Labor's website. These wages are set by the state, not by the town. And let's face it, if we could set the rates, of course a lot more would be cheaper, or we would get such and such. This is all to do with the Associated Builders in Construction, and what are they? They're a non-union organization. Now, if you read their reports, a 2022 report of February 2022, they admit there's a labor shortage. Not only do they admit there's a labor shortage, they want to be able to go over and hire foreigners to come over and work jobs here in the United States. So foreign workers come over here to get the jobs. Why not the union workers? Why not the non-union workers? Because they don't have enough. There's a shortage. Okay? Now they want to get legislation passed. The ABC wants to get legislation passed that they can hire undocumented workers. Okay, but you don't know this part, and this doesn't go out in the flyer, okay? But you don't know that fact. My opinion, maybe the ABC and the union should get together and work together so we can get Americans that are working. And listen, I get the whole thing. I get there's a shortage of workers. We're feeling it here in Parsippany. We're putting out ads, and no one's biting on the ads. So with that being said, And I'm going to stop because I can go forever, Council President. I do respect everybody's opinion up here. I really do. I respect everybody's opinion out here. But the misinformation is amazing. And we can all go get facts. We can get facts from California that the PLA doesn't increase it. Mr. Venezia came out that it says it does increase it 33%. And there's other studies that say 10%. Well, guess what? I believe this is what's right for Parsippany. I'm going to end it with this. Over the course of, I forget how many years, I think it's 20 years, maybe less, there were 7,500 bids that went out. Now, I heard that 73 to 80% of construction workers are non-union. Okay, well, if that's the case, think about this. 7,500 bids went out, maybe two were over $5 million. You know what that means? 80% of the township work goes to non-union. So they get their fair share. They get 80% of almost all the projects in town. Anything under $5 million. We have $3 million projects, $4 million projects. You have, an array of projects. But we're bound by this law of prevailing wages, which we can't control. But I'm going to end it with this. Like I said, I respect my colleagues. We want to have a good Christmas, right? And I respect all the residents that come up here. Mr. Heller, I've known you for many years. You've always been a gentleman, and I can go on and on. Everybody up here, we have a different of opinions, but that doesn't mean we can't agree to disagree. So thank you.
All right, your 5 minutes are up, Mayor.
What did you say?
Your 5 minutes are up.
I will move forward to the non-consent agenda.
Resolution R 2022-175, awarding contract for third-party administrative services for the Township Limited Self-Insured Health Benefit Insurance Program. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second. Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Resolution 2022-176, awarding contract for medical and prescription stop-loss insurance services and medical and prescription claims costs for the Township Limited Self-Insured Health Benefit Insurance Program. Motion to approve the resolution by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
R 2022-177, awarding contract for employee dental insurance services on a self-insured basis for the 2023 and 2024 years. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
R 2022-178, authorizing a settlement agreement with Matthew Lamana. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Neglia, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi.
Yes.
Mr. Musella.
Yes.
Mr. Neglia.
Yes.
Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay,
All right,
approval.
all right, let's go first before we get to that. Under the consent agenda, we're not going to vote on it tonight, but item number 9, providing local support for cannabis business applicants. We need some discussion on that. I thought Justin Marqueta was going to be here tonight. I don't see him. That pertains to an ordinance, that's a request from Hudson Distribution Services LLC for Class 4 cannabis distributor. Now, the township limited, when we passed our ordinance, we would have no distribution sites, no selling of marijuana in Parsippany. In fact, of the 6 categories that the state sent down to us, we only approved 2 classes. Class 3, which is a wholesaler, and Class 4 is a distributor. That's it. And we have those located near highways so they do not impact on local traffic. Now, this Hudson Distribution Services is Class 4. That fits within the ordinance that we have. But Anthena Labs, which is projected to locate 35 Waterview, that's a testing laboratory, a cannabis testing laboratory. Now, the state did not describe testing laboratories in the 6 classes that they defined. Testing laboratories are not listed in the 2 classes that the township ordinance provided, Class 3 and Class 4. So this testing laboratory has not been discussed by this township at any time. This is a surprise to us. And one of the problems I have is, long-term, is this the only surprise? If we go ahead with this one, are there some other prizes, some other Pandora's boxes that are going to be opened in the future? I have a concern about what happens in the future. Now, testing laboratories, they're not going to be distributing cannabis or marijuana in the town. I guess they're going to be testing for THC content for clients, which will not be sold or distributed in Parsippany. Anyone else want to comment on this? I thought Justin was going to be here tonight.
I was just going to,
Yeah, no, I can just comment on that. I guess, as an analogy, first of all, they're licensed by the state, those testing facilities. and the zone permits laboratories and testing. So I guess it would be like if you had a greenhouse that was a permitted use in a zone, and then, say, the state licensed these facilities and said that marijuana was legal all across the state, say that they did that. You couldn't regulate what's in the greenhouse. If somebody's growing parsley or they're growing marijuana, if they're legal to grow, they're allowed to grow those. So I would say it's the same situation where testing laboratories are permitted in the zone, and even though the state didn't specifically set them forth in their statute, they are licensed by the state. So the state recognizes that they're going to have testing laboratories here, and I think that's analogous to the greenhouse example. So, and that doesn't address your other concern of what else could happen, but it's certainly, I think, with regard to a testing lab, which are permitted in the zone, I believe the law permits them.
All right, so you're saying this is a moot topic in this case?
Yes.
But it doesn't answer my concern about what else do we not know that's going to come down the road regarding marijuana. I guess we'll have to react when we see it.
I'll just...
Joe, you have a comment?
I can make this one comment with regards to the fact that eventually, yes, you're gonna have other individuals come here that are gonna do other things. I mean, once this 5-year period's up, you're gonna see people plugging for retail, you're gonna see people, individuals. That's my opinion, but I don't think this affects that.
Well, see, we have lots of facilities that can provide prescription drugs. They're called drugstores. The reason the drugstores can't provide prescription marijuana, which I don't think anybody has an objection to, is because it's still federally a crime. And if the drugstores filled a prescription for some kind of cannabis, even though it's a prescription, they probably would not be paid by the insurance companies or by Medicare or Medicaid, so they won't do it. The federal government has to lift prescription marijuana as a crime before drugstores can actually fill prescriptions. Mr. O'Neill.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Joseph O'Neill of Garofalo O'Neill Ruggiero, here on behalf of actually both entities in that resolution. The labs, as was pointed out, are heavily regulated by the state. They do not distribute or have any interaction with the public. But to your concern regarding what happens in the future, I'll just remind you what you're doing here today. You are reiterating that you want this lab to be here in the town at this location, and that is a prerequisite for that lab to be there. So there are no surprises under the cannabis regulations. Everything has to come through the council. So we think that this is an appropriate place, given the zoning, given the building, given the location, and the improvements that are going to be made to the building for this lab. So we would hope that the council would support this and allow this lab to go forward.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, one more topic.
Approval of payroll and bills list. CFO Leonard Ho recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the December 9th, 2022 regular payroll estimated at $1,600,000. And also payment of bills from voucher list of 12/1/22 through 12/3/22, estimate totaling $2,972,461.95. Motion to approve the authorization for payment above by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Karifi, seconded by Mr. Neglia. Roll call, Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
And Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Anything else before I call for the ultimate motion?
Make a motion?
Second.
Meeting?
Motion made by Mr. Musella, seconded by Mr. Karifi. Roll call, Mr. Karifi?
Yes.
Mr. Musella?
Yes.
Mr. Neglia?
Yes.
And Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Okay, have a good night, everyone. We're adjourned.
This is the first time I've closed the meeting.